Well, aren't you a regular Nancy Drew?
I learned that from the Nancy Drew Diaries.
Okay, go.
You think you can follow the clues and solve the case of the missing condiment, Nancy Drew?
Because I've read every Nancy Drew mystery ever written.
Nancy, please tell me you're joking.
Wow, you suck at this Nancy Drew stuff. You should get a new hobby.
My name is Carson Drew, and this is my assistant, Nancy.
Nancy Drew.
It's curtains for you, Miss Drew.
Nancy Drew strikes again.
A regular Nancy Drew.
Hello, regular Drews.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome to episode 119. Today we are discussing another Nancy Drew Diary, this one, Sabotage at Willow Woods.
And we're here.
We sure are. Yeah, I didn't like it. I didn't like this one.
No. I'm sorry.
It's just, okay, I'm sorry, but like, what is it? Like, what is this book? This is, I mean, I think, okay, let me pull it back a little bit. Let me pull back the reins. I think it's a fine book. I think it's, a funny, cute kind of little mystery or whatever. It's just not a Nancy Drew book.
Yeah.
And see, I have to like completely change what I had said before. I used to be like just so positive about these Nancy Drew Diaries. And maybe really it was that just the first batch of Nancy Drew Diaries we got were so good. And that, these maybe aren't our favorites,
I still think those are good, to be fair.
Yes, I do still think those ones we read before are really good.
These just haven't lived up to those, though, somehow.
And so now I'm finally understanding the critique, I think, that I've heard from a lot of you, and that the Nancy Drew Diaries just don't seem like Nancy Drew books, because this did not seem like a Nancy Drew book to me.
It really didn't, no.
Yeah. Like, just the characterization of Bess and George and even Nancy.
Oh my gosh.
Like, it was just totally off from, like, all of kind of the classic hallmarks that you would see in a, kind of classic Nancy Drew mystery. And that's not to say that I don't think that there, shouldn't be room and opportunities to kind of expand upon those and, give us a little bit more depth of those like kind of classic character tropes that we see. But I don't feel like this did that. I feel like it just totally changed it. And it almost felt even a little bit more limiting than maybe some of the characterization that we see of Bess and George and other, Nancy Drew books.
Definitely, yeah.
Which, we'll have to talk about when we really get into it, I think. But yeah, none of them felt familiar to me at all. So.
And this is only book 5.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got so far away from it this early in the series,
Yeah. Yeah. And I just don't know. Like, from a publishing perspective, from a branding perspective, I don't understand what the concept was here with the characters. You know what I mean? Because I definitely understand updating. I even understand changing to a certain extent. But like, this was just a total reversal in a lot of ways. And I just don't understand what the logic could have been behind those decisions. Unless it was just we don't really care. So let the ghostwriter kind of do whatever they want in order to make the mystery make sense. Like,
But does it make sense?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that either. The mystery was pretty much a gimme, too. It was pretty obvious.
I feel like all 4 of these books that we've done in this little block have all been the same. I mean, not to spoil it, but again, it did feel like I knew right away who it was going to be, especially because the other 4 were very same, like, it's the best friend.
Yeah.
And they have a weird motive. Like, why have all 4 of them been like that?
So
I guess
true.
Hugo wasn't technically Lone Star's best friend, but he was close enough. Like, he was around enough that it was the best friend role, I guess. And it's like, I'm a little sick of the formula, honestly.
Yeah, that's really true. And I didn't even notice. But yeah, they're all, I noticed that they were kind of like all that best friend figure But then, yeah, they all also have really weird motives.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me pull up the list. So, I mean, obviously,
Phantom of Nantucket was Marnie, the best friend.
Weird motive. Professor in the Puzzle. A little different.
Yeah, not the best friend, but the most likable guy of this group.
Right. Same social sphere. I'll say that motive is less weird. I feel like that motive was a good motive. I liked that motive in Professor in the Puzzle. But the Magician's Secret, yeah, obviously. Same. Best friend, weird motive. So
there was a little bit of a thing at the end that I didn't quite expect. So at the ending, I like that they tried at least to twist it a little bit. But even then the twist was like, oh, it actually is the thing you thought all along.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. Well, all right.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So again, 2014, I just have to ask, did we as a society not learn our lesson from High School Musical?
In regards to?
Just in regards to this whole, you have to choose academics or sports. You can't be both. This whole book seemed like this really cliquey war between, should we focus on academics or should we prioritize athletics?
Yeah.
It's like, we can't have both. People can be multifaceted. It's okay.
I just have to say, too, that it's super weird too, because in this book, Nancy is actually in high school. She's a legitimate high school student. She talks about going to her own classes. And then this is the first time I think that's ever happened that I've ever read in any Nancy Drew book ever.
Yeah.
And so I do feel like some of that was they were really trying to highlight the high schoolness of it all. And which is also really weird, just coming off the back of a kind of college-centric book where we were literally talking about, maybe Nancy's homeschooled. Jeez. But so this is number 5, and the Professor in the Puzzle was number 15. So it's I don't know. I guess those are 10 books in between there, so it's not super close, but it does feel just to read the one where Nancy is literally in a college, even though she's not a college student, to reading one where she's literally going to class in high school. It's wild.
I can just reading this book, I can just hear the soundtrack to High School Musical in my head. George saying, stick with the status quo, Nancy.
Stick with the status quo. Whoa, whoa. No. Oh my God. Okay, honestly, High School Musical talk. That was the best song in High School Musical. Stick to the status quo. Okay? Fight me on it. That's the best song.
It was. Now I need to rewatch High School Musical and maybe the sequel too. Bet on It was pretty good, but I think that was in the sequel.
No, Bet on It is goofy. And now I agree it's fun and fun to watch and listen to, but not an actual good song. Stick to the Status Quo is an actual good song. It's an actual bop. Fight me. It just is.
That's the theme song of this episode. And of this book. If you read this book, you have to listen to that song first, have the soundtrack playing. Because that feels like the theme of this book.
Oh my God. It's so
very
true.
much stay in your lane, athletes. You can't have two interests. You get the textbook or the playbook. Pick one. Okay. Nice. Anyway, sorry. Yeah. It's not that extreme, but it felt like it was going to get there. And I was wow, this feels very overplayed as a trope. I don't know. It felt just a little bit too cliche to me.
I agree. I do also have to say, too, that the way that we talked about the Green Club was really strange to me.
Yes. Yeah, we start as this jocks versus brains, and then it morphs into
an environmental
politics versus environmental stuff. And it's that's even weirder. I don't know if I like this weird mishmash of themes coming together.
Too, we frame this Green Club, which is the pro-environment club at the high school who Nancy ends up investigating throughout the course of this mystery. We frame them as being really kind of crazy, actually crazy.
And harmful crazy. And
and it's even though they don't, I don't a little bit of a spoiler, they don't really end up being crazy. We just, and I know that part of that is okay, for the mystery, we want to have a compelling other suspect for some
Yeah.
of the crime. But it just felt weird to me that, like, we're giving this message about people who are pro-environment. And Nancy has a little bit more of, like, a measured, I guess, approach to, like, her pro-environment, morality or whatever. But it's just like it's just so strange to me, because it felt like we were saying, well, kids who are passionate about caring for the environment are going too far. And I was like, even though they end up not doing that, it still feels like at the end of the book that we're supposed to think that about that group.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, but hold on. Hold on. I think they have a right to kind of care about, their local woods being torn down to build an athletic complex. I think that's a valid concern.
Right.
And they didn't do anything crazy. They just had a protest. That's literally the only thing they did. They had a protest and made a flyer to kind of spread the word about it.
What extremists. Oh my goodness.
So anyway, I was a little weirded out by that. And I feel like, there's just like this over-reliance on stereotypes for this book, for the jocks, for, the people, quote unquote, brains, and for the politicians,
the environmentalists,
and the environmentalists. It was all like, let's just lean really heavy on what people expect these people to be like. And let's not really worry about creating any depth to any of these characters or any of these situations, because it doesn't really matter, because that's really not what the, like, solution to the mystery ends up being about, right? It would be one thing if we got to the end of it and we were like, oh no, we were totally wrong. And actually it's the jocks who don't want the athletic complex built or whatever, we should have looked at them, but we were so stuck in our own stereotyping brains that we, couldn't see the solution that was right in front of our face. It's not like that.
Nope. It's not, assumptions are harmful. No.
So yeah.
I also have to say, it felt a little boring at some times. Not to say that politics is boring, because of course there's a lot of aspects of politics that's very important, that means a lot. But when it comes to a story that's just about, shaking hands and kissing babies and just doing all this over-the-top schmoozing, that's not really the story that I want to read. I feel like that aspect was really boring, and it took up a large chunk of time too.
Yeah. I will say, and we can talk about this later when we get into it, but I did find Nancy's kind of ethical dilemmas in this book to be really hilarious.
Yeah.
So we'll have to talk about that as they
come course,
because they're so funny.
I'm ready to talk about them, but I don't want to spoil anything too much.
Yeah,
I've already spoiled quite a lot as it is, but
that's okay.
Anyway,
we're gonna get into it. But cover art.
Yes, and I see the cover art that you have here for the anniversary edition. I like that one way more than the one that I have.
It's so much better.
To be clear, I love this art, but when I see this, I'm thinking, spooky mystery in the woods. Something's going to be haunted. There's going to be some sort of there's still dangerous aspects of it, but it's going to be like more high stakes than it was.
Right.
That's not the actual story that was presented from what you get from the cover image here.
Yeah, you're talking about the 2014 Erin Maguire cover where Nancy is standing kind of in the woods, and it's a beautiful picture. It's a very cool illustration. I love the kind of depth of the trees that they show with kind of, the darker kind of stark trees up kind of framing Nancy, and then the kind of shadowy, kind of foggy trees in the background. I love that. I think that's beautiful. And Nancy's in the foreground with her flashlight holding a note. And I think that this is supposed to be from the dream that she has.
Another dream sequence cover.
And it's just misleading. Because it's not really something that actually happens in the book. I mean, it does, but it's a dream, right? So it's not reality. So
we don't go to the woods.
We don't go to the woods. We don't go to the woods one time. Not one time. And also the title of it. Like, how can you get off calling it Sabotage at Willow Woods when there is no sabotage at Willow Woods? There's sabotage other places. And we kind of talk about Willow Woods, like referentially. We never go there. We never do anything at Willow Woods or about Willow Woods. Like, we just don't. So,
Sabotage on behalf of Willow Woods.
That's really what it should be called.
Yeah.
It should be called Sabotage for Willow Woods. That should be the title.
That's funny.
But yeah, I guess sabotage at the rec center is not really particularly exciting. But so the 2020 90th anniversary cover is much more representative, I think, of the vibe of the book as a whole. It features kind of Viznik, has a football helmet and some like cheerleading poems, and then the title is written on a pennant flag, Sabotage at, and then Willow Woods is on the football helmet. And it's in the beautiful yellow and blue of, our Nancy colors. It's got little footballs in the corner squares.
How cute.
So cute.
I didn't even notice those.
But yeah, I just love these 90th anniversary edition covers. They are so gorgeous. And all the little like sparklies that they put behind it. So cute. And I don't know, like, even if you can see, like, the detail of, like, where they put the at, like, underneath and above. They have the 3 little lines reminiscent of the lines coming out of the flashlights at the top.
So pretty.
It's so well done. I'll never not love these covers.
And it fits the vibe of the story as well, I feel like. Much better than the Woods picture.
Because it's really, honestly, it's really about sports. That's what the book is about. It's about sports. So... yeah. Okay. 3 words?
Well, sports.
Sports. There we go.
Yeah.
Sports. And then I also thought maybe like activism.
Yeah. Eco-activism or just activism in general. Yeah.
And then I also thought we could include about Nancy's ethical dilemmas, because I felt like they were just kind of what takes up the most angst in the book.
Yes.
Is Nancy is kind of going back and forth about whether or not her actions are justified, which I always find really funny in a Nancy Drew book, especially in this one, because the actions are so incredibly tame that I'm like, really we're debating this. But I just found it so funny.
No, I think that's perfect. Sports, activism, ethical dilemmas.
Ethical dilemmas.
Here we go. Sabotage at Willow Woods, everyone.
Okay, should we jump in?
Let's do it.
Okay. So, Chapter 1, Nancy, Bess, and George are attending a parade and block party being held for the Boylestown football team winning the state championship. Boylestown is apparently River Heights' school rival, but they're like here to support George's cousin, Carrie Kim, who is running for Boylestown Town Council, so that's why they're here. They watched this like somewhat lame short parade, and they listened to Carrie's speech, and she announces that if she's elected, she's going to build a brand new athletic complex for the high school, and that's kind of met with overwhelming approval, as apparently the current athletic facility is in rough shape. She comes off the stage and she is surrounded by the crowd and is shaking hands and kissing babies, and then approaches the girls kind of high off of her like successful speech. And she notices actually that someone, as she was walking through the crowd, someone put a note in her hand, and she reads it in front of Nancy, Bess, and George, and it says, sorry, this is funny. It says, "Not everyone loves sports. Stop your campaign or you'll be sorry."
I'm shaking in my boots. Oh, no.
Okay, but I think before we even move away from this, we kind of have to go ahead and dive into the characterization that they use to describe Bess and George here, because a lot of this first chapter is kind of built up around George narrating this thing, and she's kind of really unhappy to be here at all, because apparently in this book, at least, I don't even know if I can say in this Nancy Drew universe, in this Nancy Drew series, George is anti-sports.
Very much so.
Like, she hates sports. She hates it.
To the point she doesn't even think we need a football team. Like, why is any money being spent at all on things that are non-academic? And she's like, what about the chess team? Did you know that the chess team were like state championship champions or something? And Nancy's like, no, I didn't know that. And she's like, yeah, well, you would if blah, 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 we didn't
do all this. It wouldn't worship football players. And then apparently also Bess is a field hockey champion, which, okay, cool, go off, Bess, or whatever. But like, we're purposefully saying that in contrast to George, like that Bess is the sporty one and George is not the sporty one.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, but what?
Since when?
Why?
I'm fine with toning down stereotypes, but just to assign the same stereotype to just a different character? Why?
It doesn't make any sense. Like, yeah, literally why? Literally why? And it's like, it's almost like the author thought that like, or whoever, I mean, I don't know whose invention this was, you know, thought that, you know, the reason why like people got all up in arms about like Bess's characterization in the past, or, you know, I get all up in arms about it, was that we wanted better for Bess specifically, which is like, yes, that's true, I guess, but like also Bess is a fictional character.
Yeah.
And I would be just as upset if like in the past they were treating George the way they treated Bess.
Of course.
You know? Because it's not about the character. It's about the treatment in and of itself.
And Bess is still ultimate girly girl. She's just now also field hockey champion.
Right.
And as much as George hates sports, she does also have the technology aspect that she's still really good at.
Yeah.
And so we're keeping some things, but some things it's like, what if you just traded traits? Okay.
I'll also say they specifically called George petite in this chapter.
Yep.
Since when?
Especially with how much she eats, because we have to comment on that as well,
right.
you know?
All the time. And then also something else that was weird. They say that Kori is George's cousin on her mother's side. And so she and Bess are not related because Kori is George's cousin on her mother's side. And
That's
I'm like,
right.
Excuse me, did we just forget that Bess and George have different last names? How can we say this?
Oh my
when,
gosh.
like, historically, we are very much aware that Bess and George kind of have to be cousins on their mother's side.
Or at least one of their mothers. Like maybe it's a brother and a sister or something. I mean, okay, obviously we're doing away with the mystery stories canon. It's fine if we don't remember what happened in Sign of the Twisted Candles. But you're right. The names wouldn't make sense if they were brothers.
No.
Oh my gosh. If the dads were brother. No.
I'm gagged. This whole explanation doesn't make sense. Anyway, so we just start off really strong with that kind of stuff. And so it's like at the very jump, I'm already annoyed with the book, you know? Anyway, so Kori gets this note and she is scared by the threat and asks Nancy to investigate. And Nancy says that she would have investigated even if Kori didn't ask.
We know.
Which is funny, which is true. So back at the Drew home, Nancy dusts the note for prints, but doesn't find any. But Bess notices that there is a tiny little bit in the upper corner of like an embossed logo, almost like the note was like ripped off of some stationery. And through some guesswork and internet sleuthing, they find that the stationery must have been from the Boylestown Teachers Association. And since Kori's campaign promise affected the school, it kind of stands to reason that it could have been a teacher who handed her that threatening note. So the next day, Nancy decides to go undercover as a student at Boylestown High.
Because luckily her own school's on break.
Well, I thought she had a free period at the end. Or no, this week she is on break. But then the next week when she goes back, she has like a free last period or something.
Yes,
Because
exactly.
she does go to class, yeah.
Yeah, anytime in this book where Nancy needs to go to the other high school, her school is conveniently on a free period or on a teacher's work day or something. It's just so funny.
So Nancy goes into the school and she has this she pulls off this kind of con with like a fake lost lighter and ends up determining that, also, the note smells like cigarette smoke. This is an important fact. And so Nancy goes into the school and pretends to have found someone's fake lost lighter, and in turn figures out that there are only two teachers who smoke, Miss Meyerhoff and Miss Cashin. We absolutely disregard the second teacher immediately and never speak about her again. We only ever focus on Miss Meyerhoff. And so Nancy tries to find her classroom, and she stumbles on a student protest against this new sports complex that Kori has proposed. Apparently, if it is constructed, this new football field would necessitate cutting down a portion of the nearby Willow Woods, which is apparently kind of a little bit of a town landmark, right? And many students are against this, particularly the school's Green Club. And they're also resentful of the worshipful attitude that most people and Kori Kim seem to have about athletics in general. So Nancy strikes up a conversation with one of these protesting students, who we learn is named Barney. And he invites Nancy to join the Green Club and says that they might, quote unquote, have to get their hands dirty to stop this construction. And we also learn from him that Miss Meyerhoff is the faculty advisor for the Green Club. So Nancy is immediately suspicious, and she's like, okay, so this note has to have come from Miss Meyerhoff because she is the, faculty advisor for the Green Club. This is her motive. She cares about the environment. She doesn't want this complex built. So that evening, Nancy, Bess, and George are invited to a gala being held for Kori by her more wealthy donors. We meet Kori's campaign manager, Julie, who is also Kori's college roommate. She's apparently working on this campaign for Kori as a favor. She's usually working in like a big fancy PR firm, and we see her skills kind of put to work as she easily sways a wealthy donor to agree with one of Kori's campaign initiatives to get like parking meters installed downtown to benefit the school. But Julie doesn't really do it particularly honestly, and George kind of takes exception to this, I guess, and calls her out on it, which causes Julie to dress George down a little bit in front of everyone. It's very weird and awkward that Julie and George have like this really intense kind of animosity, and it's not really clear why. So, but anyway, soon after, Kori takes the stage to give a speech, but her speech is hijacked by someone playing a recording over the loudspeaker of Kori's voice saying, "I don't care what they think, as long as they can afford a ticket. Once I'm elected, I can do what I want. I don't have to listen to a bunch of old rich fogies." This obviously offends everyone who is here tonight, and everyone storms out really angry that Kori would say something like this. But Kori tearfully explains to Nancy afterwards that these remarks were taken out of context. She originally said this to a reporter who asked if she would be swayed by special interests of wealthy Boylston citizens after she was elected, and that even like the recording itself was kind of pieced together from her like saying different things in that interview. So Kori leads Nancy, Bess, and George to a control room where the sound system is, and they find a USB stick plugged into it, which has this recording of Kori speaking. So someone clearly sabotaged this event on purpose. Also, someone probably with pretty good sound editing ability too. So did the same person who gave her this note in the crowd do this sabotage? And does this all have to do with the athletic complex construction? Or could it be something else?
I don't feel like you need that advanced of editing skills to like put two clips together, but whatever.
Well, but she was saying how like it sounded natural, like it sounded like what Kori actually said, but I don't think like she said those things in that conjunction exactly.
Of course. So, yeah. Just funny.
Yeah.
But at this point, I think this is the nightmare that's on the cover of the book here. Nancy has this dream that she is in Willow Woods and a steamroller comes and like almost hits her and it tries to destroy the woods. But then she wakes up and she goes to school. And then, as you said, yes, she has a free period at the end of the day. So she gets to leave a little bit early and goes back to Boylston High before the end of the day to do a little bit more undercover work. First thing she does, she tracks down Mrs. Meyerhoff and pretends that she is an intern for the local paper and asks if she can interview her. She asks Miss Meyerhoff how she feels about the proposed new athletic complex, and she says that improvements to the school are a good thing, but she does wish that the school would focus more on the arts than the athletics. Nancy also asks her about the Green Club flyer and the threat to Willow Woods, and Miss Meyerhoff says that those are the beliefs of the Green Club, but not her own. She might be the faculty representative, but she's really just like a name on a paper. She doesn't really get involved with them. Nancy also like does this little test where she takes the flash drive that had the mishmashed recording on it and like quote unquote accidentally drops it in front of her to see her reaction, but she does not react at all when she sees it. So it seems like she might not know anything. Nancy goes out into the hallway at this point and she runs into Barney, who invites her along to the Green Club, which is good because Nancy wants to ask a little bit more about the flyer and the person who made the flyer, who we learn her name is Eloise. So we asked Barney to go introduce us to Eloise, and it turns out she is currently like doing a poetry recitation. So she's like up on stage right now, and then when she's done with that, she comes off stage and Barney introduces her to Nancy, and Nancy is using an alias for this case. She introduces herself as Katrina, and Eloise is a little bit confrontational towards Katrina and asks Nancy to prove her quote unquote greenness and implies that Nancy should get up and recite her own poem. And Nancy's like, okay. So she just gets up on stage and starts like doing slam poetry about the environment, but it's really not that good.
No.
But Eloise is still just like impressed that Nancy would even have the guts to get up there and do that. Oh gosh, yeah. It's this really, we might just need to read this.
Sure. Let's see. Okay.
Oh, she says, I'm awful at public speaking.
Oil spilling, wildlife dying, chemicals in the water, global warming, football players trampling over a murdered land. When will it end? When will it end? That's it. She drops the mic.
Literally drops the mic and walks off. Oh my gosh. And Eloise is like, wow, you did not actually have to do that. I did not expect you to do that, but you did it. Way to go, Katrina.
So this is what they say. A few claps slowly emerged from the audience as if they weren't totally sure how to respond. After a moment, I heard someone chuckling. They're all so confused.
Oh my gosh. So funny. Poor Nancy. You'd never see me again. I'd have to move after that. Oh my gosh. Like, I don't even go to this school and I still have to leave. Oh my gosh. Oh, so there's that disaster. And so Nancy comes off stage and Eloise is so impressed. She immediately recruits her into the Green Club and takes her over to her locker because she's got more pamphlets that she wants to give Nancy. And as her locker's really messy, so she's like digging through things to get to the pamphlets. And as she's doing so, a bunch of papers fall out of her locker. And Nancy notices several pieces of like blank Teachers Association stationery. So why would Eloise have these unless she was using them for nefarious purposes? But then Nancy gets a text message that there is some sort of crisis going on at Kori's campaign HQ, and so she's got to rush over there. Oh my gosh, we might need a content warning on this episode. This is very upsetting.
Right.
But Nancy arrives to the HQ to find Bess, George, and Julia all consoling Kori because someone has mailed her a dead squirrel. And we get a very gruesome description, but the squirrel also has a note with it that says, "This is just the beginning if you don't end your campaign and stop the sports center."
Ugh.
Yeah.
Gross.
So it's awful. It's really nasty. It's really sad. And yeah, so obviously Kori's very upset, but they manage to get her to calm down a little bit. And then Nancy shows her the Green Club flyer about the issue of Willow Woods being cut down if they were to build the sports center. And Kori's like, oh yeah, no, I knew about that. I knew that they would have to cut Willow Woods down for this project. And I'm really sorry that they have to cut him down, but there's really no other better place where they could build the stadium affordably. I don't know why that's the priority, but whatever. But she says, I do promise that I will plant 100 new trees where the old football field is currently, but ecologically that's just, it's not good enough. Sorry.
Right.
100 baby saplings is nothing compared to a mature forest.
Also, like, think about how much watering you would have to do to
Oh
keep
my
those trees alive. Just
Yeah. And it would take 100 years to get back to where it is now. It really, I'm sorry, it's just not good enough. But then Nancy, Bess, and George go outside to discuss all this, and Nancy tells them about finding the Teachers Association stationery in Eloise's locker. And Bess brings up the point that it's kind of, it doesn't really align for the Green Club to be killing squirrels and sending them as threats.
You think?
But also be so pro-environment. Yeah, and we also learn later, or maybe we've already learned it, Eloise is vegan.
Yeah.
And so I don't know any vegans that just like do spite killings of random innocent little creatures just for saving trees. Yeah, it doesn't, no, it doesn't seem logical that Eloise is the one that did this. So maybe we've got another suspect, ? But then we get a text message from Eloise that says that she wants her to come to they're doing some sort of major environmental action tonight at the football field, and she wants Nancy to come with her.
So Nancy obviously goes, and she brings Bess and George along, and they have like this like clumsy little moment where Bess introduces her and George as Mirabelle and Jackie, because of course they had to make up fake names for this too. And they're like, those are odd names. Which also, how dare you say that to someone who like introduces themselves to you? Like,
I don't believe that's your name. It's too unique.
What?
Like, that's a weird thing to say.
It's a weird thing to say. Anyway, and then like Barney like almost asks Nancy out, but she kind of avoids it on purpose. And she later tells Bess and George that she doesn't want to turn Barney down. Like, she doesn't want him to ask her so that she doesn't have to turn him down, because she doesn't want to turn him down because she thinks that she can use him for information about the Green Club and about whatever is happening with, you know, Carrie's case or whatever.
Nancy, this is the ethical dilemma you should be having. Not whether or not it's okay to entertain him.
She does, but like it's hilarious because he also hasn't actually asked her anything.
No.
So she's not like stringing him along. She's not dating him for the purposes of getting information. She's not lying about, you know, not being into him or anything like that. He hasn't even officially expressed interest in her. She just knows that he's interested in her because it's kind of obvious.
Yeah.
So it's this is so funny to me. And we get so much more like upset about this later. And we have to talk about this later when.
Oh, and she's like, and I have to remind myself, I love Ned.
Yeah,
Ned's my boyfriend.
Right.
I have a boyfriend. I don't need this.
Okay, Nancy.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, so after all this, Eloise tells us the big plan. Sorry, this is so funny. She wants to egg a teacher's house because she doesn't think that teacher is recycling.
She says she has proof he's not recycling. This vegan environmentalist wants to waste perfectly good animal products on egging a teacher's house. This is terrible for the environment. It's not good to waste something that could be food, and you don't even eat eggs. What are you doing?
But so this is not exactly the big environmental action that we were expecting either. We were thinking like, yeah, like make some kind of statement, splash blood on something. You know what I mean? But no, they're just gonna egg a teacher's house and that's it. Okay.
Girl, you're vegan. What are you doing?
It's so weird. It's really weird.
You won't eat the eggs, but you'll waste them on somebody's driveway. Like, just throw them in his car.
But so Nancy, Bess, and George kind of discuss bailing. They're like, okay, this is lame. These clearly are not the people who killed a squirrel for, you know, to intimidate Carrie Kim. Should we just go? But, you know, Bess brings up that, like, we kind of still don't know how Eloise got the Teachers Association stationery, so we do end up going with them. Oh my God, but this is so funny. Sorry, this whole thing is so funny. So we go to this teacher's house, unfortunately, we realized that nobody brought eggs. They showed up to this teacher's house without any eggs, to egg it without eggs. And even Nancy is like, these people can't plan well enough to, like, you know, use the flash drive and video edit a thing and you know, play it over her speech. They couldn't figure out how to buy eggs to egg a teacher's house. They're not the culprits here.
You know that vegan egg substitute that's like the liquid egg stuff that comes in the carton? That's what I'm picturing. They just get the vegan eggs and just slosh the liquid all over the yard. This is across the front door. That's what
totally
Eloise brought.
Well, it turns out that no, they were actually waiting on someone else to bring them eggs. So Barney's older brother shows up, and it turns out that George had gone on a date with Barney's older brother at one point. And so she knows that he's going to recognize her. And so she like tries to hide, but she can't. And he does end up recognizing her as George and blows their whole cover.
Oh my gosh.
So Nancy is like forced to explain who she really is and what's going on. That she's here, you know, investigating the sabotage of Carrie Kim's campaign, and Eloise and the rest of the Green Club members seem to be shocked that someone is sabotaging Carrie's campaign. And Eloise says she would never kill a squirrel. Surprise, surprise. She also explains that she got the stationery because she's Mrs. Meyerhoff's student aide. And so that's why she has it in her locker. She also says, for good measure, Miss Meyerhoff wouldn't hurt a squirrel either because she's a member of PETA. Okay. So at that moment, the teacher whose house they were going to egg, which they actually haven't done yet, comes out. And so they all like have to run and scatter because apparently this also isn't the first time that they've egged this teacher's house. So he's like expecting this. He comes out and he's like, I'm gonna call the cops or whatever, and they run. Oh,
this poor guy, this one man doesn't recycle one time, and now he's getting his house egged every other weekend. Oh my gosh. Is there nobody else in town that you could go after that's done something maybe worse?
I guess not.
Oh I guess not. He's the only guy in town that doesn't recycle. The only one.
Dang.
I'd be embarrassed if that was me.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. So the next day they're kind of back to square one now that, you know, Eloise and the Green Club are kind of not on our suspect list anymore. And Nancy, Bess, and George decide to volunteer at Carrie's campaign to kind of kill time. So she's understaffed now because she's had to lay off a lot of her employees after losing so many donors. Go figure. We also learned that Carrie is considering just kind of dropping out of the race at this point because she feels like the town is against her now. But Julia convinces her to give it one more shot and to hold a joint fundraiser with the football team. And she says that the athletes still love and support her and that this would help ease some of the financial burden that she's experiencing. Even though Carrie explains to us that in order to even hold this fundraiser, she would have to go into debt, aka ask her dad for more money, but to even like be able to have it. So, but she does get excited about this plan and ultimately agrees to it. Cut to the evening of the fundraiser. Ned shows up to take Nancy. On the way, Nancy gives him the lowdown about the case, though she kind of glosses over the issue of Barney being into her, of course. They get to the fundraiser and they find that there's like this big crowd forming at the doors, and the police have showed up because someone splashed red paint all over the entryway and has written, "This represents the blood of the animals you kill by destroying their habitat." Okay. Mm-hmm. So Julia is there out front and she is honestly crashing out. She is like frantically trying to scrub this dry paint off of the doors while reporters are peppering her with questions. And she ends up saying some really unfortunate things to them, I guess in the quote unquote heat of the moment. And even says this campaign is a nightmare before Nancy is able to get her away from the reporters, which I just have to say, this does not seem like professional PR superstar behavior as Julia was characterized to be before.
No, it should not take Nancy like yorking you stage left just to stop you from spouting your mouth off at like the slightest thing, you know?
Seriously.
It's not the slightest thing. This is a big deal,
Yes.
but it
But
shouldn't have this level of reaction without some sort of like personal restraint. Don't start yelling in front of the cameras. Yeah.
Right. So she sends Julia inside with Bess and George, who have also just shown up, but she spots Barney skulking away with a duffel bag. So she goes after him because she's like, what are you doing here? And he is like really mad at her about, I guess, lying about who she was and going as Katrina instead of saying, you know, to who she really was to the Green Club or whatever. But I do have to say too that like after her big reveal the night before, wasn't the night before, a few weeks ago or whenever it was, she apologized for it and he forgave her. Like they had this whole scene after like they had run away from the guy's house that they were egging and they were like hiding in a park together or whatever. And, you know, they had this whole like kind of come to Jesus moment where she was like, I'm really sorry about it. I didn't want to deceive you. And he's like, it's okay. And even like made a crack about like, you know, how of course he's into mysterious girls, whatever. Cool. Didn't matter. We seem to have totally resolved that. But now he's like super peeved off, really angry with her. And really, though, we learned that this is probably just because he saw Nancy with Ned a few minutes ago when she was over by the front doors. So now he's just mad that she has a boyfriend that she never told him about, even though this guy never even asked her out. She wasn't lying about not having a boyfriend. She just didn't tell you because there was no reason to tell you. Because number one, yeah, she was undercover, which she apologized for and you forgave her for. And two, you never asked her out. You never asked her out. Yeah, you were about to. And, you know, maybe she changed the subject. But sorry. Like.
That doesn't give you claim over her.
No. But so, anyway, Nancy threatens him with the police if he doesn't open his duffel bag. And so he does, and it turns out it's just his uniform because he's here to work the event as a waiter. And he gets like Nancy to feel bad about this for some reason. Like he's like, you know, yeah, some of us have to have a job kind of a vibe. And like, yes, okay, I understand Nancy is quote unquote classic rich girl, right? But also you don't get to just choose what you want to be mad about at any given moment. Like, clearly she's thinking that, oh, well, maybe if you're pissed off enough about me, maybe you threw the paint on these doors over there, my guy. Like, yeah, this just made me so angry. Anyway, so he goes inside, but Nancy then realizes after feeling guilty about forcing him to open his bag, she realizes that if he works as a waiter, then he also could have been at the last event that was also sabotaged. So Barney actually might be a pretty compelling suspect here. So she ends up going inside with Ned, who has also somehow not noticed any of this. Like, he didn't follow Nancy. He didn't see Nancy having like this shouting match or whatever with Barney. And anyway, so Nancy goes inside and confirms with Carrie that Barney did indeed work the last event as well.
Barney's just mad that the illusion is crushed for him. He's not mad that Nancy's been dating Ned this whole time. He's just mad that his like potential access to ask her out has been closed.
Which is not something you get to take out on her. Sorry.
Barney, if it wasn't a yes already, it's clearly not only a no because of Ned. Like, it's clearly still a no regardless of if Ned exists. Like,
so she lied about who she was. Like, if I'm coming from Barney's perspective, she lied about who she was. She avoided you trying to ask her out, and then you didn't hear from her for weeks.
Sounds like someone who's desperate to be with him, right? Oh, she must want me so bad. Sorry. Anyway.
No, it's so annoying.
I hate Barney. But okay, so we go in, the event starts, and Barney actually ends up being the waiter for Nancy's table. So she's able to just kind of like, keep an eye on him, see what he's up to. And at some point, she decides to pass him a note apologizing for, I guess, this misunderstanding or whatever. And then he sends her a note back, just saying like, don't worry about it or whatever.
Mhm.
But this was actually a really great trick. She was not trying to apologize. She just wanted a handwriting sample.
Mhm.
And we do confirm that this handwriting is the same blocky handwriting as the threatening note that Kori received earlier in the story.
Mm.
Obviously, this tells us a lot. Nancy's going to go jump up and go find Kori to tell her everything. But she's like in the bathroom or something right now. And Julia's like standing guard in front of the door and is like, you're not going in there. Kori is not to be disturbed. She's working on her speech. Do not distract her. Like, again, it's too high stakes. So no, you're not going in. And Nancy's like, well, somebody needs to know. So just like FYI, pretty sure that Barney guy is the one who's been sabotaging all of this. He's had access at all these events that she's been throwing. He's been hired as a caterer for all of these things. And Julia's like, okay, I will call the police, but you have to let me handle this discreetly, because if we have cops running around here, then this event is over, and then it's just going to be like a chaotic fest of gossip about what's going on, right? And so Nancy's like, all right, definitely makes sense. You call the police. I'm going to go back to my seat and we'll just let the event start. So she does. She sits back down and the speeches begin, and some football players end up coming up on stage to talk about what the sports complex will mean to them. It'll be so much help for their team, and they appreciate Kori so much for doing this initiative. But the speeches just keep going on and on and on, and it's been like maybe half an hour at this point. Nancy's like, why are the police not here yet? And Barney's just kind of like standing over there. They could go get him right now. It's so easy, and like nobody's here. But then finally they do show up and they pull him into a hallway just to kind of talk to him away from the event. And Nancy overhears Barney yelling. But luckily there's another speaker about to get up on stage. So like the clapping or whatever going on drowns it out. And so people at the event can't really hear what's going on with the police. But then Nancy does hear Barney shout, Aunt Julia, what's going on? Aunt Julia, help me. Aunt Julia. This is the twist that I did not see. I definitely suspected Julia this whole time, but I did not anticipate the connection between Barney and Julia. So I appreciated the twist a little bit there. But anyway, so another football player gets up to start speaking, and he starts his speech by saying, I'm here to tell you why electing Kori Kim to the town council would be a huge mistake. So obviously, yes, Julia is the one behind all of this sabotage, and we actually hear Kori banging on the bathroom door from the inside, because Julia locked her in there.
Oh my God.
And now she can hear in the bathroom, she can hear this speech about how this awful plan is going to endanger all the species that live in Willow Woods, and how Kori's an idiot and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. So Nancy's like, Bess, give me your credit card. And Bess is able... This is so funny
like,
too.
Don't mess it up, Nancy. I can't replace it again. I've already replaced it twice.
Not again. Watch my magnetic strip this time. So clearly Nancy's in the practice of doing this. She's able to use the credit card to like open the door really easily. And then we go confront Julia. Julia immediately admits to everything, including the squirrel thing. Ugh. And the motive is all because Kori got a job that Julia wanted, like way back right when they finished college or something. Julia thought that she was the more qualified person for the job, but Kori has always been this like, a tennis star, super celebrated. And so I guess that's how she got the job over Julia.
Yeah. Well, no, like the guy like was also like a tennis player, and so they like bonded over like their love of tennis, and that apparently got her the job.
Yeah. And that made Julia so jealous that she convinced Kori to quit her job to run for office and Julia do the campaign stuff. And so clearly this plan has worked so far, and she says that, at this point in the campaign, it doesn't even matter what else Julia does. Carrie doesn't have a shot anymore because of all the things that she's done. And this lights a fire in Carrie somehow. She's all excited to fight back again, even though she was basically given up a few chapters ago. And she's like, you don't know anything yet. The elections haven't happened. We will see. So she jumps back on stage to give her speech. Again, in true Diaries fashion, the next final chapter of the book is not going to take place immediately after all of this. We're kind of talking about it in retrospect. So Nancy's giving us this kind of summary of everything that's happened over the last 3 months. Yes, Carrie did win the election. Hooray. The way that she did this was to just change her campaign tactics. She decided to just put her athletic complex in a different spot instead, which I thought was not an option from the get-go, but apparently it was. And this satisfied everyone, and she won in a landslide.
Wow. How realistic.
So these big problems just weren't problems. We just compromised anyway.
I want to scream.
Yes. So anyway, we have this great big ribbon cutting event for the new field that Nancy, Bess, and George are going to go to.
Which also, 3 months is all it took to get this thing not just built, but like plans created for, money raised for, built and opened in 3 months' time for a huge, shiny new athletic complex with state-of-the-art things and all these new fields and everything. No way. I call bull.
Yeah.
That is a 6 months to a year project at least.
Oh, you would think.
At least. Anyway.
We had, in our town, when we were in high school, they built a new football complex, and that took them a good
4
2
years. I swear.
Yeah. It took a long time.
Yeah.
Anyway,
maybe our town was just really inept, which is also a possibility.
That's a very big possibility.
But this just doesn't seem realistic to me. Even thinking about like just normal like home reno like kind of timelines. 3 months is fast. 3 months is fast to redo like a kitchen. Like come on.
The street in front of my work had a bunch of potholes on it, and it took them 8 months to fix those. They literally just finished last week. And I don't know how, like, repairing a road can be, like, 3 times as long as building this entire complex, including the time that it takes to get the plans approved by the city council and to have the election.
Yes.
Like, the election had to have taken place, and then after she got elected, she would have had to have this passed.
Yeah.
And then the plans would have started, and then construction would have started. Anyway, so 3 years later, we're at the ribbon cutting. No, it's 3 months later. But when we get there, we run into Barney. Turns out, yes, obviously he was like Aunt Julia's assistant in all the Sabotage or whatever. He does tell us that he did not kill the squirrel, that he found it dead in his yard and assumed that it fell out of a tree.
Oh my God. Which is like, this squirrel must have been sick.
I don't know.
What was wrong with that squirrel?
Yeah, the way that they
really
describe the squirrel when they get it out of the box makes it seem like it had a more traumatic death. The way that they describe the amount of blood. I don't want to get too gruesome here. That's why I'm saying it vaguely, but the description makes it seem like someone killed it, not that it was just a fall.
Maybe it got hit by a car and walked over into his yard and died.
That would make sense. Yeah. That would be consistent with the injuries that are described.
Yes.
It's gross. It's really sad. It's really sad. But yeah, so he says, don't worry, he is not a squirrel murderer, sociopath. He just found a dead squirrel and thought it would be great to use.
No. He didn't know that his aunt mailed it. He just happened to like be talking about finding the dead squirrel in his yard. And not knowing like what to do with it or whatever. And his aunt was like, oh, I'll handle it. Don't worry, I'll get rid of it. And she mailed it to Carrie. Yeah. So she's crazy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And he didn't even know until like the night of that last event or whatever that things had gotten this far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was actually Nancy the night of the teacher's egging house thing that she told him about the sabotage, that he understood that it was a little bit deeper than he thought.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So Barney's a little more innocent than it sounds like, but he's still awful and he sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And he's definitely still had a hand in it. He just isn't a squirrel murderer.
Not mailing dead squirrels to people.
Gosh, that's unhinged. Oh my gosh, that's nasty.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so he and Aunt Julia got community service for their vandalism, and he has been volunteering for a program that helps to bring sports to underprivileged communities. So I guess that's nice, and he's found a newfound love for hockey. So I guess good for him.
Yeah.
Maybe there's potential for Barney. But no, because he can't learn his lesson. He tries to ask Nancy out again, but then Ned comes over because they're going to have a ping pong tournament at the sports complex opening. And so Ned comes over because he wants to tell her that he signed them up for a ping pong thing. And Ned's like, oh, sorry, Barney, I didn't see you there. And Barney's like, oh, Nancy was just telling me what a great guy you are. I'm going to go now. Okay.
Arf.
Yeah, and then Bess and George come over and they play Nancy and Ned in ping pong and make a joke about how you don't have to be a good athlete to be a ping pong player. And the end.
Ouch.
Which arguably...
ouch to ping pong players.
Ping pong players have to have a lot of really good reflexes. And
yeah. Like, have you seen those, like, Olympic level ping pong players? Like, that stuff's impressive.
They got more endurance than I do.
Yeah.
All that running around the table? No,
seriously.
thank you.
Reaching?
Yeah.
Pull my shoulder out or something.
Oh my gosh. Well, the end.
Oh my God. What? Okay, I'm sorry, but how cringe. Mm-hmm. How cringe. What a cringe book.
Stick to the stuff you know.
No. Oh, Kori, you got this in my head now. I'm just High School Musical earworm. I'm going to have to go watch the whole thing, too, just to get it out of my head.
Yeah. It's been too long. Haven't seen it in a while.
That's true. Maybe you should have, like, a whole High School Musical 1, 2, 3, like, what do they call it? Movie marathon.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I saw the third one.
It is back to school time. So, that fits.
Mm-hmm.
Fits. I don't know that I saw the third one either. Is there a fourth one? Or am I making that up?
Things got so out of control with it because I know that after the 3 movies, I want to say, they made a series called High School Musical.
That's right.
The series, and then they made a movie based on that, and then they made a musical based off of that.
They made a musical based off of the series that's based off of a musical?
Like, I think there's a Broadway show.
But it's based off the series, not the movie that's the musical.
I don't know. I don't know.
I think that's wild, if true.
I think that's what Olivia Rodrigo got famous from. I think she was in High School Musical.
Oh.
But I don't know if it was the movie or the series, or if I'm getting this confused and I don't know which one's which. We're too old for this.
We were honestly on the cusp of, like, where it was kind of embarrassing for us to have watched High School Musical when we were teenagers.
When it came out, yeah.
So.
And we were in 7th grade.
No, we were not. Really?
We were in 7th grade when, or maybe it was 8th. We were in middle school when the first movie came out.
Oh my God.
And even then, the attitude with our classmates was like, we're getting a little too old for this.
This is clearly for infants. So.
I can say now I'm not too cool for High School Musical. I know now.
Same. I understand it. I was like years late to the Jonas Brothers because we were definitely too old for the Jonas Brothers like fever or whatever mania. But like when they did their whole like comeback tour
in like what 2017
10
or
years
something?
ago or whatever it was,
no.
I was like, I get it now.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's fun.
So it is so fun. So fun. Yeah. Anyway, jeez. Okay, Nancy Drew. Listen, I think the book was goofy, and I think that the characters were not Nancy Drew characters, but no. I didn't hate reading it, you know. I thought like, you know, there were moments where like I laughed. I thought the situations in the book were more laughable than funny. You know what I mean? And I felt the plot was a little bit, obvious, but whatever, it's a kid's book. I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad about the book. I'm mad that the book calls itself a Nancy Drew book. If the book was just on its own, was just a mystery and like for kids, I would be fine with it. I would think it was a cute little book, but I just, we're making a regular Nancy Drew podcast. We're here to talk about Nancy Drew, and I just can't get this in my mind as a Nancy Drew book,
If it didn't have the name Nancy Drew, I don't think I would have ever read it.
Like if you had renamed the characters entirely and put a different title on it, I would have been like, yeah, great, cool, interesting, funny, sweet, even. But yeah.
I just thought, I'm sorry, it was so boring. I legitimately had a hard time finishing it. I had to force myself to sit down and read it because there were so many things. It's like, I just don't care about Barney's jealousy or about Carrie schmoozing her voters. I really just don't care about the outcome of the election. No. I could not force myself to care. And there's some parts that were legitimately very funny and fun, but ultimately it didn't make up enough for me to be compelling. Yeah.
I do have to say, okay, I have a question. So there's this plot point where like they're working in Carrie's office, right, after they've already figured out that the Green Club didn't do any of the sabotage or whatever. And Carrie's like, I'm just going to give up the raise because I'm in so much debt already and I don't want to keep going this. And Julia convinces her to give it one more shot. Why?
Yeah. Doesn't that like go against her whole goal?
Yeah.
Of ending the campaign?
Now, I mean, you could say, sure, maybe she already has this next, like, sabotage planned or whatever. Like, she wants one more opportunity to embarrass her, maybe. I could understand that. But she says later at the end of it that her goal this whole time was to get Carrie to lose the election and, like, be out of a job and out of work and have no money and all of that. And she succeeded pretty thoroughly. We didn't even need to do this last bit of sabotage. Like, Carrie was already dejected, was going to drop out of the race, was already in debt. Like,
quit while you're ahead, Julia. What's going on?
She could have been off scot-free for this. And I just don't understand. I don't understand. I guess maybe she just got cocky, but I wish we had gotten like a moment of like regret at the end where like she was explaining, she's like, if only I hadn't, the only reason why you're up on that stage right now is because I encouraged you to be here. And if only I had let you quit when you wanted to, then like we wouldn't, like this would never have happened. And, I don't know.
The part at the end, right before they like go inside the final event venue where the reporters are outside and she's trying to clean up the paint, I thought that she was doing that on purpose. Like she was intentionally giving them bad sound bites that it was going to come back somehow, and then it just didn't.
Yeah.
Maybe she was doing it just in case her plan failed, that was just another backup embarrassment plan. Yeah. But it did seem like she was intentionally giving them sound bites that they could use to chop it into little pieces to frame it differently.
Yeah, no, that definitely felt for real, like, or she was definitely doing that on purpose. But then like, if, like why? I just don't understand. Like, you already succeeded. You already got what you wanted, which is to have Carrie drop out, but she doesn't let her and then keeps going. That doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me because if you do let her keep going, there's a chance that she could still win, which is not what you want. So isn't dropping out like you're like, yes, she like, it's your goal. It's your like the end all, because now she's wasted her time and money and has lost. I don't get it.
It's not like she has the secondary goal of also getting the athletic complex stopped. She doesn't seem to actually care about that at all. No. If it went ahead without Carrie, it wouldn't have mattered. She just wants the campaign to end.
Because she hates Carrie. She's jealous of Carrie.
Which, that motive, like, talk about a long con. Like, you have this, y'all just graduated college, you have this quote-unquote betrayal from Carrie, and you decide to just continue being her best friend for a decade, and then just out of your back pocket, I'm going to pull out this sabotage.
Do we know how old they are? Because
We
I
don't
got
know.
the impression that they were still maybe a little bit young, but like, it's at least been a few years. It's at least been 2 to 3 years, I feel like, since this whole
Since
they
college,
graduated and this whole thing must have happened.
Yeah,
So,
10 years might be an exaggeration,
right,
but it definitely
but-
seems like they could be like 20s, 30s, maybe, somewhere in there.
I mean, yeah, maybe they're still in their early 20s, maybe, to be generous, but like, get over it. Like, I don't know, move on with your life. You clearly have a really successful job. Just because you didn't get the one job that you wanted, like, wow. Way to be super salty. Get new friends. Like, I don't understand this.
You also convinced Carrie to quit her job. We don't even know if that's the same job, the job in question that you were so jealous of. Well, apparently it's open now. Go apply for
it. Seriously.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if it's just like the earth sign in me or whatever, but I'm just like, I truly don't understand people who spend their time and energy
to do all this
kind of stuff when you could literally spend your time and energy making your life what you want it to be. You know what I mean? Like being happy instead of being miserable and mean with this person that you don't like. Just say goodbye. College roommate, goodbye. Like, thank you so much for the time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a decision to move on with my life.
Surely that would make you happier than like undermining her every step of the way.
You would think.
But it explains why George and Carrie didn't get along so well. George may have subconsciously known something was up with Julia. Oh, sorry, not Carrie. George and Carrie. I think I said
Julia.
George and Carrie. Julia and George did not get along very well because George must have suspected. Not that she would have like consciously known, but she must have thought like, somebody doesn't have her best interests at heart here.
For sure. And it also makes sense as to why, like, Julia hated George so much. Well, kind of not really. I think it's still kind of weird to be really petty against, like, someone's little cousin.
Right.
Like, who George is, like, clearly still, like, a teenager and, and Carrie's an adult or whatever. It's really weird to single that person out, which Julia really did with George. But, like, I guess it's because she hated Carrie, and so she hated anyone associated with Carrie, and so George just got to be the target of that or whatever. Even though George was, like, anti-sports.
Yeah. Of all of Carrie's close friends and supporters, George is the one that's most vocal about not liking what Carrie's doing.
So you would think that Julia would appreciate that, but I don't know. I don't know. Whatever. I still think it would have made so much more sense to have Bess be the one anti-sports at the beginning, and then they can have this conflict with Bess where she doesn't like Julia, and she's worried about it, and then we can have some conflict between George and Bess about like, well, this is my cousin, and like I want to support her. You're my cousin. I want you to support me. And like. It could be about like family relationships. It could be a little bit more complex. We could get a little bit more of an interesting story. But all because I guess we just don't want to label Bess as not liking sports, as if it's not okay to not like sports. Because even by the end, George at the beginning, who quote unquote hated sports, has kind of turned around.
Yeah.
So, is this just a pro sports book? Is that what this is supposed to be?
I honestly can't tell. There's so many different like stances that this book is trying to take.
So true.
It's a little overwhelming. But.
I will say, as annoying and angering as the whole Barney situation was, I did love the moment where he spilled water on Ned on purpose at the table. I found that hilarious. So funny. And then Ned just like honestly not even being aware that this whole thing is happening like right in front of him. I don't think he notices Nancy give him the note. He doesn't notice Nancy getting the note back. He doesn't notice later at the end of the book when Barney is hitting on Nancy again that he's even hitting on her. I don't think. It's just like, okay.
If he notices, he doesn't seem to think it's a big deal. Like, Nancy's passing weird notes with some guy again. Just another day in Ned's life.
Just another day. Oh my God. Poor Ned.
Oh, poor Ned.
Poor Ned. Anyway. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say about this.
Yeah, I'm glad this one's over, honestly.
Yes. Unfortunately, though, that does wrap up our section on the diaries, and I am kind of sad that that's how we're leaving it.
Yeah.
Because this one was maybe the one I liked the least. Speaking of, Kori, should we do our ranking?
Should we do a flashlight first? And then
flashlight, and then we'll do our keep,
revise,
throw away, revise, give away.
Delete. Yes.
Delete. That's what it is. Delete. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Flashlight score. I give this a 1. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also give it a 1, and I feel like that's a little generous.
Yes.
I really just didn't have a fun time reading it.
I do think this is probably my least favorite diary that I have read for sure. Not my least favorite Nancy Drew book that I've ever read. No. Some of the mystery stories still really rank up there for me. But for much different reasons, obviously. And yeah, I have a really hard time thinking of anything kind of redeemable about this one. It just doesn't stand out. And then it stands out for all the wrong reasons and doesn't stand out for any good reasons to me. Yeah. So, yeah. Unfortunate.
Well, I have a feeling I know where this is going to fall in our next ranking. Yes. Which normally we would save this for, I would say normally, we've only done this once so far. We would normally we would save this for like our next episode following this, but we have something very, very exciting planned for that one. We want to save some time, so we're just going to go ahead and do it now in this episode. And so you get the full experience with the next episode. So.
Yes. Okay.
So keep, revise, give away, delete, right?
Keep, revise, give away, delete. Okay. Yes. And then the 4 books that we have covered this past section are The Phantom of Nantucket, The Professor and the Puzzle, The Magician's Secret, and then this Sabotage at Willow Woods. Yeah, I'm deleting Sabotage at Willow Woods.
Yes. Yes.
Ooh, this is tough.
I think I know my ranking.
Okay, go for it.
And it's so hard. Okay, so I think Professor and the Puzzle was my favorite of these 4. So I'm going to keep that one. Probably Phantom of Nantucket was my next favorite. So I'm going to say give that one away because again, it's still very much something that I love. The vibe's phenomenal, but just I didn't love it quite as much as I loved Professor and the Puzzle, which leaves revise for Magician's Secret. So I'd give away Phantom of Nantucket. I'll keep Professor and the Puzzle, and I'll revise Magician's Secret, which I feel
heavily
like works.
Revised.
I feel like if you revised it, there's enough elements that you could still have a really fun story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a revision would be the best use of that story.
Yeah,
how do you feel?
I think my ranking is similar. Definitely delete Sabotage at Willow Woods and definitely revise The Magician's Secret, but it would be a pretty heavy revision. There'd be a lot of red penning going on with that one. But I think actually I would keep The Phantom of Nantucket and give away The Professor and the Puzzle. Okay. But I love both of them, honestly. And I think the reason I would give away The Professor and the Puzzle was because while I did find it really enjoyable and I really loved it and I really loved the story and it kind of brought me kind of back to like my middle school self, I do feel like it wasn't aimed particularly at me at this particular moment in time. I feel like someone else would really enjoy it a lot more than I would. But I would keep The Phantom of Nantucket because I do think, even though we did have some, small criticisms of that book and we're kind of annoyed that we didn't actually get like a phantom and where was the lighthouse and all of that, I think ultimately reading The Phantom of Nantucket transported me to a different time and place, much more so than The Professor and the Puzzle. The
That's
Professor and
fair.
the Puzzle made me nostalgic, but The Phantom of Nantucket made me get wrapped up in a mystery. And so I would keep that one. I just loved the vibes of it. It just hit at the right time, late summer. And I love it when Nancy travels, you know, and it just felt like a place that like I had never really experienced that much before on, you know, in real life or on page or screen or whatever. And so it just felt kind of new and interesting and vibey. And so, yeah. So keep Phantom of Nantucket, give away Professor the Puzzle, revise Magician's Secret, delete Sabotage or Willow Woods. So,
that's a good ranking. I like it.
Yeah. But I could see how you'd go either way with a Phantom of Nantucket and Professor the Puzzle. They're both pretty
absolutely.
good.
Yeah.
They're
no,
pretty good.
It was a tough choice between those two, but
Yeah.
You know, maybe these were the worst 4 diaries.
Maybe
we just got a dud batch. I don't know, but
yeah.
That's not fair. I feel mean saying that after I just complimented 2 of these stories, because 2 of them honestly were pretty good.
They're cute and sweet, and I really loved them both. Just not the last 2. The last 2.
Would I rather read a file? Yeah. But were Professor and the Puzzle and The Phantom of Nantucket still pretty good? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So. I agree. Okay, well, next up, Regular Drews, we are so excited. We do have our special episode for our 120th episode. We're getting to do an interview with a real-life Carolyn Keene. That's right. We have a ghostwriter willing to come on. I think we're going to leave it a surprise for who it is. We'll see. But yeah, we are so excited to get to talk to them about this. I just have so many questions. And I know lots of you on social media have also had really great questions, and we're so appreciative for those. But yeah, that will be coming out next. So keep your eyes peeled and your ears open for that.
I think we can maybe say that it is a diaries Carolyn Keene.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that. But maybe we'll have a good opportunity to ask more questions about the things about the diaries we've been curious about this time. So
yeah, absolutely.
Be good.
Absolutely.
But also just any Carolyn Keene that we can talk to is so exciting. I cannot
so many
wait.
Questions.
I'm so thrilled. I know.
Yeah, we're very, very excited, Regular Drews, and yeah, we'll see you then.
Yep, see you then.
Thank you for listening to Regular Nancy Drew. If you like this episode, make sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
Email us at regularnancydrew@gmail.com.
You can also visit our website, regularnancydrew.com, and also follow us on Instagram at regularnancydrew.
You can also support us on Patreon. Patrons at the $3 level vote on upcoming episode topics and get exclusive access to our Scoop Sesh series.
And all patrons receive early access to each episode as well as weekly bonus content.
And to all you Regular Drews out there, thanks for listening.